Welcome back, Miami Dolphins. Hit that like and subscribe if you like the channel and if you enjoy the content I'm making. Let me know what you'd like to see or hear in the comments. But today we're just going to be going over a couple of quick cap casualties that will give us probably approximately around like 12 million in cap space. Of course, I'm doing this in a way where we're not just going to cut stupid players that make absolutely no sense. Like, there's some things out there that are saying, like, Kendall Fuller or something like that. You know, we don't really have a corner behind Kendall Fuller, so whoever is going to play that side is going to get just destroyed the whole entire season, which makes no sense. But these are going to be certain guys that, you know, really haven't produced and are taking up contract space that we can, again, use for offensive linemen, you know, to be able to sign an offensive lineman this year. I know for a fact that Chris Grier is probably going to allow or have Stephen Ross allow him to give guaranteed money to certain people to get them off the books so they have more cap space, you know, like Jalen Ramsey or like Tyreek Hill, if we don't trade Tyreek Hill, or Bradley Chubb, or some of those players that we can finagle something, and Teron Armstead as well, depending on if he retires. But yeah, we can clear up some cap space, and like I said, in the hopes of signing a wall in front of Tua. You know, I think, you know, it's just what needs to happen this season. We need to create a wall in front of Tua. So real quickly, guys, we're going to be talking right now. I want to give realistic expectations for what we're trying to do or who we can cut. Basically what you see here. Obviously, it's, you know, Tua, Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, Teron Armstead, and Jalen Ramsey take up most of it. Austin Jackson is not that bad. And Jalen Phillips, I don't think he's going to sign a contract, but unfortunately that would have probably helped us if he didn't get injured, because he probably would have gotten an extension. So what we can possibly do, and these are going to be early cap casualties that I think would make the most sense to clear up a decent amount of space. Now, honestly, you know, we'll see what happens, but I do think that Tyreek Hill might be something that, you know, possibly gets if we get the right price and we can get the money off the books, would be a pretty decent trade. But, you know, and then Teron Armstead, you can't really cut him, so it would have to be like a retirement. But we're kind of stuck with Teron Armstead. That was I'm sorry, but that was really stupid contract by Chris Grier. So what we'll go down to is, depending on, you know, what free agents that we're going to go for, the first one that I'm going to show you is Jason Sanders. And basically, you know, Jason Sanders, his contract is for $4 million, but what we can honestly do, depending on what we can find as a kicker, you'll save $4 million if you cut after June 1st Jason Sanders, which he's been up and down, you know, and we can all tell that he's been up and down. So to save $4 million might be something that we look into with Jason Sanders. The next one that I'm going to talk about, obviously we all kind of know this, unfortunately, is Raheem Mostert. And if you were to let go of Raheem Mostert, I think it's after June 1st, you're going to save $3 million, basically. And there's zero dead cap to that in 2026. You would save like $3 million in cap space. So that's already like $8 million that you can save. The next one that I would consider doing is Durham Smythe. You don't really see him on the field anymore. And the thing is that if you were to cut him, you're now up to basically 12 million almost in cap space, if I'm doing my math correctly. So that's around 12 million so far that we're saving on the books with those guys. Kendall Fuller is an option, but I just don't think we can find another corner that would be representable of Kendall Fuller, because he did pretty well this season. Like, he wasn't, you know, excellent, but he did all right this season. So those would be the ones. And the last one that I would say is Channing Tindall. I think it's like $1 million in savings if you were to cut him. But, you know, yeah, $1.3 million. So that would equal around $14 million. Now, the cap's probably going to go up But the rest of the players, I mean, they're really not going to do much. The basis that I think we can really look for to clear up some cap space is if Teron Armstead restructures or retires. Basically, if he retires, then we're kind of good to go for that cap. And if Tyreek Hill gets traded, if we decide to trade Tyreek Hill and somebody can take most of his contract off the books, that would lift a lot of stuff, which, like I said, I mean, it's kind of one of those trades. And, there's some people that will say, look, we don't really have another receiver besides Tyreek Hill. But honestly, man, if you use this offseason to build a wall in front of Tua, Waddle and Malik Washington, and then, like I said, in my previous video, which eventually we'll go over the draft picks that I think in mock drafts and all that stuff, but you draft a first round either offensive lineman or wide receiver, and flip-flop first and second rounders. You can, if you trade Tyreek Hill, you can get one of these top receivers in the first round, or one of the receivers in the second round, and one of the top offensive linemen in the first round or the second round. You could definitely go for one of those. Bradley Chubb, it's one of those guys, again, if we can trade him, which, the thing is I don't want to trade Bradley Chubb because, it's going to be a dead cap. But with Bradley Chubb, we forget that Bradley Chubb was, premier pass rusher for us, towards the end of that last season. If he didn't get injured, he was really on his way to getting like 10 sacks and doing a really good job. So to have him with Jalen Phillips and then, teaching the young buck and Chop Robinson, I just feel fully more comfortable in our defensive line being set up. And we'll go over different free agents as we go through the free agent process. But, with those guys, you clear basically like $12 million in cap space. And then you get to around like $30 million. You can sign, a top tier offensive lineman or two, keeping some of the players and restructuring some of the contracts. Like, I would even say like maybe Zach Sealer restructures, Jalen Ramsey maybe, takes a guaranteed money. Of course, you got to do what you got to do. Chris Greer needs to do what he's got to do. But to be honest, if we can, get a bunch of basically a bunch of offensive linemen for Tua Tagovailoa, I think the trading option of Tyreek Hill becomes a very reasonable thing this coming season, to clear up a lot of cap space after June 1st, and to be able to sign those offensive linemen that we need to protect Tua. So yeah, as you guys can see, if we do that, we create $12 million, and then again, if we can trade Tyreek Hill and draft a receiver, you basically have $50 million in cap space. You can sign two high-level offensive linemen for this line. You have Aaron Brewer, you have Austin Jackson, you have Teron Armstead if he doesn't retire, or you have Patrick Paul that I think will do pretty decent. And then you sign a bunch of offensive linemen to secure this, and you draft one. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of like what we have here. You sign or you draft or do any of those things. But if we can clear enough cap space, we sign a wall in front of Tua, and then we see what he can do. Because, again, Tua has had the worst offensive line continually throughout his whole career. This offseason needs to be predicated towards getting rid of players you don't need, signing the trenches. Defensive line, as we can kind of tell, the defensive line is pretty all right. You need a defensive tackle or something like that, a rotational guy. But for the most part, you have Sealer, Chubb is coming back, Jalen Phillips will come back, and, Chop Robinson is going to continue learning to be a run stopper. So you kind of have that secured. It's about filling the other pieces, but, again, clearing up enough space so that we can sign a wall for Tua this coming year so that he can have some time to diagnose things and we can be physical against those physical teams. But as always, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Love you all. Fins up, baby. Peace.